The Christ Letters, with enhanced narration and text. Letter 2.9. You reap exactly as you sow. Remember also the great law, you reap exactly as you sow. You cannot pick figs from brambles, or grapes from thorn trees, or harvest wheat from weeds. Think about this and understand this parable, because it is very important to you, not only today, but also throughout all your days and years to come, even into eternity. So, if you want to change your lives, change your thoughts. Change your words arising from those thoughts. Change your actions arising from the thoughts. What is in your minds will create all your experiences, your sickness, poverty, unhappiness, and despair. A man shouted out to me, "Tell us, teacher, how do we remain peaceful with our neighbours when they, themselves, will give us no peace?" I said to him, smiling, "When your neighbour comes to you and says he has to travel some distance away and does not want to go alone and asks you to go with him, what do you do?" The man laughed. If my neighbour wanted to take me away from what I was doing, I would not be pleased. I would tell him to find someone else to go with him, as I was busy. "And how would your neighbour feel?" I asked. The man shrugged. "I don't know." "And next time you needed him to do you a favour, how will he respond to your asking?" The man was no longer laughing. He did not reply. Another man said, "He will swear at him and tell him to go elsewhere for help." I said to the people, "He has answered rightly. And how will he feel?" I pointed to the man who had first spoken, smiling at him. A woman shouted above the laughter, "He will tell everyone he meets what a selfish and miserable neighbour he has. Perhaps he will want to hurt him in some way." There were shouts of agreement, and I nodded. Yes, he will have forgotten that he was once asked by his neighbour to walk 1 or 2 miles with him, and he refused. He will not see the law of reaping and sowing at work in his life. He set it in motion when he refused to go a mile with his neighbour, and now he is reaping of his attitudes and actions. Of what use to be angry when he has created the situation all by himself? The people laughed and nodded and spoke to one another. Never before had they heard such knowledge of human behaviour. Here was an entirely new teaching. I said to them, "I advise you, when your neighbour comes to you, asking you to walk a mile with them, or anything else that will make him more at ease and happy, first think about what you would like him to do for you, if you also have a need. How would you like him to respond to your request?" A murmur swept through the crowd, and I could see that they understood what I was telling them. In fact, if your neighbour asks you to go 1 mile, do it with a happy, easy agreement, and be prepared to go on to do 2 miles if necessary, When you refuse people, you do not realize it, but you tighten up your minds and bodies, ready to protect yourself from being forced to do something you do not want to do. You tighten up your minds and bodies, and the Father is tightened up also, and cannot do its love work within you, and out of this tightening comes sickness. Again, you may meet someone sorely in need, who is cold and unhappy. He may ask you for your coat. Don't pass him by, glaring at him. Some people laughed. They knew this was what they would do. No, give him your coat, and if he is really cold, give him your cloak also. Go your way rejoicing. Rejoicing? A disbelieving voice asked. I laughed and said, Yes, my friend, rejoicing. Firstly, because you had a coat and a cloak to give, and then rejoicing because you realize that now you have a lack of a coat and cloak yourself, your Father within you will shortly return the coat and cloak to you in some surprising way. If, however, you give him your coat and cloak, and then continue walking, grumbling to yourself, Now why did I do that? I was foolish. Now I will be cold instead of him, and people will laugh at me, because I have given my coat and cloak and left myself with nothing. And what will my wife say when I get home? The people were nodding and laughing, enjoying the picture of the man who gives away coat and cloak, and then remembers what an evil thing he has done to himself. I knew that very often they did deprive themselves to help others, and then regretted their generosity afterwards. I waited a moment and then shouted in a loud voice to get their full attention. But have I not told you that you reap as you sow? Have I not told you clearly that your thoughts, words, actions create your future circumstances? So what do you want to sow to reap after you have given your coat and cloak to the stranger? Do you want your gifts restored to you, or do you want to be without coat and cloak for a long, long time? Because that is what will happen to you if you go on your way angry and upset because you gave away your coat and cloak. Your words and actions will seal, make hard like rock, the poverty you have brought upon yourself by giving away your coat and cloak. The people were no longer smiling and laughing. They were very quiet and listening intently.